Long Gone Days arrives on the Switch, and it's an RPG about modern day conflict and the cost of war with a heavy focus on its narrative. A unique theme and one I've been excited to dive into since learning about it just recently. The question today, however, is how do these elements come together? Well, that's what I'm here to find out. My name's Alex, this is SwitchCorner, and if you enjoy the video, subscribe, it helps us out a huge amount. Check out the full written review for Long Gone Days over at xpcorner.net. That is our website where we have reviews, deals and news for the Nintendo Switch, Xbox, PlayStation and PC. A little history about Long Gone Days. No doubt, like many of you, this game has come out of nowhere, but this has actually been a title that's long been in development. In fact, the early access build on Steam launched all the way back in March 2018, and since then they've been adding content, missions, chapters and the characters. No doubt those who followed this journey are excited to see it finally here. So we follow Rourke, a young man trained from birth to be a sniper for the Corps, a subterranean paramilitary state. Life might seem good at first glance, but it soon becomes clear that this is no ordinary place. It's hidden from the eyes of the general population above ground, and these soldiers, they've been born and raised within this facility, with very few ever having seen the outside world. Well, it seems today is your lucky day. A sniper from the elite Raven squad has been injured, and you are drafted into service. This is a big moment for Rourke, but that feeling of a monumental occasion occurring quickly fades when he discovers the Corps is far from the noble organisation he thought they was. What follows is an opening mission of picking up your sniper rifle and attacking targets, only to learn that these are not guilty individuals. It's at this moment we faint, and when we do come to, we quickly realise we must escape and we cannot complete these activities that are asked of us. This is when things go from really bad to worse. We venture in the wrong direction, and now we have the Corps in pursuit, willing to sacrifice us at any costs. Truly enjoyed the story. It touches on the themes that are immediately recognisable from our world, drawing on modern conflict motifs, yet of course adding that kind of futuristic element to stand out. It also delves into the concept of language barriers, which I really enjoyed. So basically, at first, upon arriving in a new country, you're unable to understand anyone. That is, at least until a party member with translation skills joins your group. Overall, I just thought it was a really likeable cast, and the story had me intrigued from the very first few moments. Long Gone Days is a top-down RPG that melds exploration, party and inventory management, equipment setup, and turn-based combat. While there are a few sniper encounters, I was somewhat disappointed with their infrequency, especially since they seem largely overlooked after the introductory scenes. These sequences, they aren't overly intricate, just moving the reticle and shooting, but they underscore our military training. You'd think the game would want to capitalize on that aspect more. The RPG mechanics and a solid exploration involve simple 4-way directional inputs with just one button designated for interactions, and encounters with enemies trigger battles automatically when they are on screen. Unlike many games in the genre, battles aren't incessantly frequent, but they are used to bolster the narrative when deemed fitting. Not everyone in this world is basically out to get you either. In fact, you'll often find yourself exploring areas inhabited by locals who are largely oblivious to your situation. These opportunities allow you to take on side missions, converse with the locals, and visit stores. However, I will say I rarely had cash to spend, so I often relied on finding items in chests scattered throughout the world. As for the side missions, there are plenty to tackle, and you can track them via the pause menu. One peculiar design choice, though, I must point out is that you can't use the joystick for movement. It is exclusively a D-pad arrangement. The game's locations then, they are small, but they rotate frequently, ensuring variety as you transition between regions and sometimes countries. While they are largely well designed, the lack of a map might disappoint some. However, I'd argue that the characters and missions provide enough guidance to make a map almost redundant. The game is also then paced for swift progression, evident in the occasional environmental puzzle that you will encounter. These aren't overly challenging, often involving tasks like rearranging objects or activating doors with various levers. Overall, playing through the main story, along the way doing a couple of side quests, I'd say it's going to take you roughly 12 hours, which is definitely shorter for the genre. There are, of course, a bunch of hidden areas that could occupy you, though, for a while as well, and this includes different kind of side missions as well. I was particularly fond of the dungeon designs that we frequently encountered. They just were filled with locked doors and concealed routes that you wouldn't know were there if you didn't go looking for them. Combat in the game is straightforward. You manage a squad of 4 party members, each boasting unique skills. We have Rourke, the protagonist, who's unparalleled with a rifle. Adair serves as the team medic, though he's no slouch in combat. The squad also features a character who abstains from fighting, offering only support, and another who's noticeably inept with firearms, a trait mirrored in her targeting ability. This targeting system is a feature I particularly enjoyed. When selecting a character to attack, you can often aim for different body parts, affecting the enemy's evasion capabilities and the damage you do inflict. For instance, while enemies can more easily dodge headshots, landing one results in substantial damage. The game even introduces status effects. A hit to an arm, for example, might disable an opponent's attack for several turns. The combat interface then is refreshingly simple. Standard attacks, skills consuming SP, and items. That's really the full extent of it. I enjoyed most of the combat encounters, though a few enemies in the latter portion of the game did drag on, making battles feel like repetitive cycles of healing and attacking. They just, I guess, go into that kind of almost bullet sponge territory. Items and equipment then further elevate the combat experience. Items typically serve either an attacking or supporting role, like think healing aids or maybe grenades. Now as for equipment, characters can be outfitted with 4 items: a weapon, clothing, a hat, and an accessory. Each piece of equipment influences core stats like attack, agility, and defense, showcasing, I guess, Long Gone Days' unique take on what is character leveling. This isn't the traditional every different battle you're receiving XP. One area though where Long Gone Days could have improved was its introduction of various mechanics. For the first hour or so, the game feels like a process of trial and error. For instance, you can switch out party members as your group expands beyond 4, but the game doesn't clearly explain this. The same goes for the equipment setup and a feature termed morale. The latter concept revolves around decisions affecting your squad's spirit, yet its impact was barely noticeable. I could only discern its effects from occasional smiley or sad faces hovering around our characters. While it is a minor concern, I wish the game had provided a bit more guidance at the outset, but also taught me really how to understand where my current team morale stood. Despite these minor grievances and I guess a desire for a more comprehensive tutorial, I thoroughly enjoyed Long Gone Days. Its setting is genuinely unique, the characters are immensely likeable, and their mission is compelling. Although the mechanics aren't groundbreaking then and might even be considered basic compared to many entries in the genre, I had an absolute blast working through it. So I really like the visual design of Long Gone Days. It has a retro pixel look, but the animations for the characters are well done, and the world is filled with a lot of detail. On top of this, there's a manga style for character portraits, combat, even some anime-esque cutscenes. Even though some models show up more than once, they are done very well. They add more emotion than the main style could by itself. The combat presentation then was another highlight for me. It reminded me of a dungeon crawler. Basically, your characters, they aren't visible on screen, but this setup allows for big enemy designs that fill up the screen, and it looks especially good in handheld modes. The audio in Long Gone Days then truly stands out. While it doesn't have voice acting, almost everything else is spot on. Weapons have a substantial weight to them, and a nice touch is that you'll only hear a gunshot if your attack lands, so you do find yourself starting to listen for it. The soundtrack then is also fantastic. It amplifies the emotional resonance of each section, but ratchets up that intensity, and yeah, overall just really high quality. Long Gone Days blends familiar gameplay elements, but its strength lies in its outstanding storytelling and charismatic cast. Genuinely enjoyed navigating its world, aiding Rourke in amending past wrongs and facing off against its array of adversaries. The game's mission resonated with me from the get-go, and yeah, look, admittedly there's some curious design decisions, the D-pad only movement, and a few, I guess, shortcomings. Some of the enemies are a little too strong towards the end game, for example. But weighing everything, Long Gone Days has been a great time. Now for those seeking a less daunting RPG, this will be an excellent choice once you get past the game's lack of explanation to open. So yeah, after a lengthy wait, it is clear that Long Gone Days was absolutely worth it, and it's a great 8 out of 10 from me. So will you be checking out Long Gone Days then? Let us know in the comments with that. Hit subscribe, join us here for reviews, deals, news and lists daily, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.